Hey, crew, and welcome back to another episode of Trenches with Milan Terez. Today, we are sitting down with Diana Nino, the co founder and CEO of Salsi, a Miami born canned agave seltzer brand inspired by the city's vibrant energy and immigrant roots. As a South Florida native and self proclaimed Miami apologist, she once thought moving back would feel like defeat, but it ultimately deepened her love for culture, community, and connection. With Salsi, Diana and her husband are creating a beverage designed for clearer mornings with low ABV and more hydrating ingredients like coconut water, sea salt, and a touch of green tea, crafted to celebrate without compromise. Hey, crew, and welcome back to Trenches. I'm your host, Milan Terez. On this show, we have unfiltered conversations with entrepreneurs in the messy middle. We dig into the experiments, defining decisions, disasters, pivots, and breakthroughs that shaped their companies long before the world was watching. Before we get into it, if you like this episode, which I know you will, please take a moment and like, subscribe, and share this episode to your group chat. Hi, Diana. Welcome to Trenches, the podcast.
Hi, Milan. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you. Diana and I have connected on TikTok, and I've been following along her journey from almost the very beginning. What was that, back in October of 2025 you started posting?
My goodness. Yeah, you have been around for a minute.
It has truly been a journey, and you guys know that I love supporting female founders that are out here building in public. It is hard to do. And speaking of hard things, Diana, what trench are you in right now?
This has kind of been a little bit of a longer play trench, if you will. But as a company playing with alcohol, we are just in a never-ending battle, a never-ending trench with the government. And so it is just understandably very highly regulated. And so there's a lot of red tape. But we're moving slowly, moving and grooving.
And we're going to dig all into those regulations and some recent decisions that you guys have made as a company to kind of speed up the process of getting Salsi into the market and into people's hands. So I want to dig all into that. But before we get there, let's just talk about you and your career. I know we talked a little bit about in our meeting prior that you are in life cycle and growth marketing by day. She's worked in New York and San Francisco. So, for our crew members out there that are working their 9 to 5s, have a long tenure in their career, how has your career in tech or in marketing fueled and or given you a competitive edge when it comes to building Salsi?
My goodness. I think that although the spaces are so different, my background primarily being in marketing for tech, I do find that by having this varied experience in marketing where I've worn all these different hats and I've been able to write copy and play inside of Figma, but then also get really comfortable with these life cycle messaging, strategy building, also all of the actual data analytics that come with that. I'm finding that by wearing all of these hats, I feel a little better equipped with Salsi. And so while we don't know what we don't know, and we're learning every day, and there are so many questions all of the time, I do find that sometimes I say, I'm going to do this myself, and then I can. And that's really cool. It's not the first time, it's not the second time, it's maybe like the 12th time that I try. But sometimes there are things I can handle, and I find that very empowering. And so, New York and San Francisco, very competitive work environments, to be honest, but I'm better for it.
Yeah, for sure. And has working in those fast pace, I mean, New York and San Francisco, when it comes to tech and just entrepreneurship in general, those are probably the fastest paced cities that are out there in the United States, if not the world. How has that played into your entrepreneurial journey? Have you decided to follow that same pace, that same standard? Or did you say, hey, I already experienced the fast pace. I want to be building my company at a slower pace, at a more intentional space? Where have you landed on that spectrum of building?
Yeah, I think it's somewhere in the middle. Somewhere in the middle. I think that I'm realizing when you work at some of these newer, smaller companies, you tend to take on a lot of roles. You tend to work outside of your scope, and you're not in this. I've been fortunate to kind of work at very large companies and very small companies. And I find that at these smaller companies, kind of in the startup environment, you tend to not abide by what is on a job posting. You find yourself doing a lot. And I think that as far as Salsi goes and my experience in entrepreneurship, it has been really inspiring, motivating. I think I've maintained kind of this tech environment standard, even though my husband and I are the ones running the ship now. We're only reporting to ourselves and each other. But I find myself maintaining this kind of like techie project management and this hunger to move forward and push things. That said, I think we have a good balance. I think we have a good balance. And I don't think that, although there are two employees at Salsi, I don't think we have like that toxic tech work environment.
You're like, I'm trying to not stress myself. I don't need any premature gray hairs any more than I already have.
Exactly. It's so funny that you say that because I fully encountered the first few that I've seen. I'm sure they're like all in there, but like the first few that I've seen, I saw them like a week ago. And so that felt really good.
You're like, there we go. Yeah, something's happening. I'm making moves. I'm getting
Yes.
gray hair. Yeah, it's
It's
happening now.
validating. Yes. Totally not disheartening in the slightest.
I get it. And I want to dig into how it is building with your husband. Here on Trenches, we've talked to some founders that are doing it solo and some that are doing it with co founders that they've just found organically and naturally, and some that have just been friends, and maybe some more that'll be family. So, just a quick little synopsis, what is it like having your husband as your co founder?
It's fantastic. It's weird. It's fantastic. I think like I am getting to, so my husband's name is Jackson. He loves to be behind the scenes. It's interesting because at the base of our marriage is this like really intense friendship. And although in our marriage there are these hurdles and, problems that you solve and things that you compromise on, of course, and some of those things are kind of feel like a parallel to working together. It's different. And I've always theorized about the kind of employee that he is based off of like how he works and the hours and how much he pours himself into everything that he does. And it's very, very type A. It's different to work with him. And so happy to say that everything I'd theorized is true and it's even better than I'd expected. I don't know if I could be doing this without him, full transparency. There's so much happening behind the scenes, so much like unfun, honestly, like very uninteresting, like paperwork and regulatory stuff that he is just knocking out daily and eager to dive into, eager to poke holes in and question. And it frees up time for me to have fun opportunities like this one
Yeah.
along. So it's
Jackson could have been on the
amazing.
pod, if he wanted to, but he seems like a back of house kind of a guy. So being a podcast guest may have stressed him out a little bit.
Oh, yes. I will let him know that the invitation is open.
Yes, please come. I saw in some of your earlier TikToks, he made some appearances while you guys were in product development and getting some of your first samples in. So those were really cute to see you guys testing the product together and seeing you guys' live reactions of which ones he liked and which ones you liked.
I I will be sure to give him this feedback because I think he thinks it's just me who's like, this is so cute. People will see that we're a couple and we're partnering together and it resonates and it's a brand that's so important for us to kind of build this recognition and this connection. And I think it understandably carries weight from people outside of our marriage. And so he's probably just like, oh, you just think it's cute because it's us. And so I will certainly share this feedback with him because I'm dying to get him into more content. But oh my God, it is his nightmare, if I'm being honest. And it kind of hurts me a little because I know he hates it. So it's kind of this trying to strike this balance of like, I really love this and I know you don't. I don't know. But that's marriage, it's a compromise.
Yeah, he's the Salsi special guest that comes out every once in a while, so we'll love that.
Oh, yes.
We love it, we love it. So, bring me back to 2024. You're back in Miami, and you're starting to get these ideas. You're starting to get these little sparks of information, and you're building your community back. What was happening in your life in 2024 that led to where you're sitting here today at the beginning of 2026?
Yeah. So at that stage, we had been back in Miami for a little bit. And Jackson and I had just moved further south, like a lot further south. That's kind of like where the party is and all of the buzz is in the city. Further north, Miami just tends to be a little bit more residential and a little quieter. And then a lot of the happenings in the city and networking events and the best happy hours. And Florida, for the first year, I think it was 2024 actually, had just been considered for Michelin stars. Maybe it was
Ooh.
25, but that's all very new to us. Okay. And so all those restaurants are south. And so we had just moved south. We were so happy, so excited. You could just feel the energy shift. And at that point, we are gung ho about like building our community and making these friendships, but not taking any real strides as far as Salsi goes. We kind of fleetingly talked about starting our own thing and not grab the reins
Mhm.
until the following year. My husband turned 31 2 weeks before I turned 30.
Mhm.
And in that little window, I don't want to say crashed out. I didn't crash out because that has like a really negative connotation, but I was like, oh my God, time is passing. I have to do this. And so I kind of had this like epiphany, if you will. And I was
Yeah.
like, I need to make this thing happen that I want to make happen. And after that, it was like the floodgates opened. I mean, I remember being 2 weeks from his birthday. This was July of 2025. And we'd been flirting with these ideas and not really taking anything super seriously. I remember mentioning the idea of Salsi to him. And at the time, it actually wasn't a agave seltzer with hydrating ingredients. It was a tequila seltzer with vitamins B12 and electrolytes. And so, how we were getting those electrolytes, not sure. We would figure it out. B12 was a huge part of it. This is something that eventually we shook off due to like regulatory reasoning. We had just been advised professionally to not chase that and that it would be very, very difficult. But in our heads, there are people drinking all night. They come to Miami, they party, they get an IV the next morning. And what
Mhm.
is in the IV? Salt and B12. And how about we just make the drink better instead of trying to fix what we've done the next morning? And so that's kind of where it all started. It was like very, very all at once um, in July of 2025.
That is
Floodgates.
amazing. That is amazing. You're not even a year in and you have made so much progress. That is
Thank you.
crazy, especially with having no industry background when it comes to the CPG space or anything like that.
Thank
So
you. Thank you.
kudos to you. So you got this idea in July, presented it to hubby, and you said, okay, now we need to take the first step in bringing this thing to life. Tell me the story of how you decided to make the decision to look for help. We'll dig into this a little bit, crew members, but Diana made a very amazing choice to find an accelerator program or an incubator program, as some industries call it. So tell me the story behind deciding to move that forward and reach out to an accelerator program.
I have to give major kudos to the program that I attended. And that one is hosted by an absolute just influence in the space, expert in the space. Her name is Danielle Calabrese. She has this amazing portfolio of CPG brands that she has supported and currently supports. And she has excellent targeted marketing, which is a green flag. It's a huge green flag. I'm like, she knows what she's doing. Her performance marketing ads are targeting me. That's niche. I wasn't exactly Googling how to start business, but I wasn't exactly not. And so I was shouting into the universe, looking for help and combing through pages and pages and pages of Google, you know, search results and you're also parsing like organic versus paid results and not knowing where to start, what I should be doing. At the same time, like cold calling just breweries, which
Mm.
has nothing to do with tequila. But like that at the time, it felt like strides, cold calling them and just like chatting about the idea. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't know where to start. And so we were throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. We
Mhm.
were like taking buckets of spaghetti at the wall and hoping for one noodle and not knowing the difference between up and down or forward and back. Truly, it felt like we were just spinning our wheels. And I get this targeted ad on Instagram, actually, and it is for Danielle's cohort called Launch Lab. And so that's kind of where it all started. Do I dive in further?
Yeah. So let's dive into it. My next question was going to be, what is an accelerator program? And for you, when you were seeing these ads, how did you decide it was the right fit for you?
Yeah, I think having been in marketing for the last like decade or so, I was skeptical and I actually had the same questions like, what even is an accelerator? The marketing is in the word. I'm always just a little bit like, what are we accelerating? At the same time, just like stubborn, skeptical, like kind of not the person you want to get your ad. But alas, I mean, I really want to double down on how effective Danielle is because lo and behold, we went through Launch Lab her cohort and we're on the other end and we're singing her praises. And so these incubators are going to be a little bit like what they sound like. Definitely being so literal, Milan. This is like when you warm up an egg and you facilitate a little chick coming out. That is what Danielle is doing with CPG brands. So she essentially runs this course. These vary, right? So I think the term incubator essentially is it's like an accelerator. It is education, like a commitment programming wise, where you are giving anywhere from maybe an hour a week to several days a week. In some cases, I know that these involve equity structurings and there are deals struck up that are not just a payment for a course. In other cases, my knowledge in something like Y Combinator, for example, it's more of like angel investing and venture capitalists. And so in the case of Launch Lab by Danielle Calabrese, that is a course that you pay for. It is a limited cohort. I think she has 40-ish spots and it runs over a 3-month period. And the commitment was something like 5-ish hours a week. And so working a 9 to 5 or going to school or assuming that you have some major commitment outside of the project that you're building, which most people do, this is like not a negligible amount of time.
Mhm.
And week to week, we had like very well thought out, comprehensive programming, talking through your idea and fine tuning it. And then all the way to like the actual supply chain and logistics that, different vendors you would need to connect with and what kinds of numbers you need to see, considering your product, your location, how it would sell. Is it D2C? Is it B2B? I mean, how exactly are you planning to sell this? And what numbers you need to be striking for this to be a business that makes sense and can scale?
Yeah.
We covered marketing, we covered website building, even very basic fundamentals like filing a trademark or getting your LLC up and going. It was truly very, very comprehensive, well thought out, and then accompanied by this comforting presence that was access to Danielle the entire time, which doesn't just go away, which is quite nice. And the homework assignments that accompany it, which it forced us to take time out of these live courses to sit down and really think about what we're doing and go through the numbers and play with them and adjust our product as needed. Do not have the words to express how impactful it was. It was amazing, amazing, amazing. And then the actual connections made throughout the cohort, that's a whole other thing, whole other realm of value that we felt we got from it. Jackson and I were attending those courses together, and there is something really cathartic about trauma bonding with 40 other people who are either exactly where you are or a little ahead or a little
Mhm.
like behind, if you will. It was amazing. It was amazing. I like genuinely, if you are able to, I recommend it to anyone who is interested in starting. a CPG brand.
I love that. And I've heard so much of accelerator programs for some crew members out there who don't know, but I am starting my MBA with one day, and it also follows an accelerator plan rather than traditional school or things like that. So I am excited to be kind of modeling after Diana and seeing what an accelerator incubator program can do for building a business, much like yourself, having an idea, having it seemingly thought out or the concept at least thought out. So you're not at like zero where you know nothing, but you also have no idea how to actually bring this thing to life. So definitely inspired by you and that program. For anybody out there who is interested, I will definitely leave a link to the launch lab in the show notes so that you guys can click into it and see if that's how you want to start your CPG brands.
Amazing.
And so while you were going through this program, I'm sure that there was a chapter about it, but how did you find this missing gap in the alcohol space? Were you shopping one day? Were you on socials? What was that light bulb moment or moments where you really realized that there was a gap in the market for an agave seltzer brand?
Yeah, I think there were a couple of things. Definitely the overarching theme here being just personal reflections. And so, what I mean by that is number one, I had just had a number of remarkably intense hangovers. And
Haven't we all?
I just not even I'm like kind of realizing it doesn't even take that much, Like it doesn't even take very much for me to feel the effects, even just like a light headache after 2 glasses of wine the night before. There are things like that where I kind of had started to think, interesting, this makes no sense. These moments are supposed to be celebratory. They don't feel celebratory after the fact. I'm actually miserable. Like, this is horrible. And so that was eye opening. I had a number of these little hangovers. Yes, I have had some really absurd hangovers, but for the most part, these were not even that. This was happy hour with the girls, just very tame. And then being like, why can I not function the next morning? I mean, this is
Mhm.
crazy. And so I didn't really think that it made sense how we were drinking. And the other thing that played into that was after 2020, especially. One of my key ethos to my personality and my worldview is being really intentional about my time. Really, really intentional about my time. And Jackson knows this better than anyone. My husband has seen the crash out over wasted time. I want to be very clear in that time wasted to me is not necessarily like sedentary time. It's more like time spent in a way you didn't want to spend it, or time you don't remember, I should say, in the context of alcohol.
Mhm.
And so spending your time intentionally, be it doom scrolling on TikTok for an hour because that's what you want, that's what you need in that moment, or be it hitting the gym or reading or laughing with loved ones, whatever that is for you, it has always been like super important to me. And after 2020, especially, I kind of realized, having moved back home to Miami and spending more time with my family, that coupled with the way we were drinking, I feel like was the perfect recipe for something like Salsi to accompany these important moments of time with your friends, with your family, at a wedding, at a happy hour, conversations where you pour your heart out over a drink deserve to be remembered. And I don't understand why we normalize just being like, I feel terrible the next day after my wedding, after my 30th birthday, after my friend's divorce celebration. It makes no sense to me. Those moments should stay happy and they deserve to be remembered. And so that is where Salsi comes into play.
I love
We
that.
realized that we couldn't name a single company doing something similar off
Hmm.
the top of our heads. And granted, Milan, like we've done our homework. There are some people in the space with similar ideas, and that's awesome. And I know that now that we are doing market research, but I still think that the market share is there for the taking.
Yeah. We always need more better for you products. We're not deep enough into the better for you space for new brands to not be popping up all the time. We still have too many bad brands out there that don't care about our health and wellness or well-being the next day by any means for there to not be another amazing Latina-owned brand.
Excited. I'm so excited for you to try it.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait. I am signing up for the wait list effective immediately, which we'll talk about that at the end. But if you go to the show notes, her website is up there at sipsalsi.com and the wait list is open. So, shameless plug, go join the wait list.
Thank you.
So, speaking of our wait list and making sure that people get Salsi whenever it comes out, while you were in the program, or even as you've continued to learn, what has been the most surprising thing that's come up, especially with the supply chain phase of whether it be manufacturing or packaging or literally shipping alcohol, which I know is a crazy regulatory process. What has been the most surprising thing along the supply chain that you're having to navigate?
I think the big one for me has been the understanding that there are so, so many components. I think that when you see a product on the shelf, be it a canned RTD, whatever it is, think of a grocery store. I think for a lot of us, there is an understanding that there are a lot of moving parts, especially as you kind of like flip around and see ingredients sourced from all over the place. And I just don't think that I had any inkling of how there is a company for everything until we had
Mm,
started to work on Salsi. And what I mean by that is we are a canned RTD. Didn't know this, but apparently your can and your can lid, different people. Your can and your can lid, and the guy who prints the can, different person. And the guy who mixes your bev, different person. You need to partner with the four of those people to get all of the components in one place. And what about the cardboard packaging that it goes in? No, that's a different person. And what about the cardboard packaging that the 4-pack goes in? That is like larger, like a larger
hmm
case for retailers. Well, that's a different person. Well, what about the tape for the packaging? Yeah, different person. So there's like a lot of that. I'm just shocked still, totally shocked that we are somehow figuring out all of the moving parts, but there is just so much happening behind the scenes. Definitely have like a newfound appreciation for the work going into products on shelves, especially by small businesses, because this is crazy. Crazy.
So, although we say Salsi is only 2 employees, they're actually like a team of 20,
No,
just
it's like
partners.
add another zero. Yeah, exactly. It's like there's so many people involved. It's wild. It is wild. I would never have had any idea like how many hands and mouths the name and the product is passing through, right? Before it lands on a shelf. So absolutely bonkers, but also really amazing.
I love that. And where are you guys right now in this whole supply chain process?
We are, my goodness, this is fun timing because there were some not so fun regulatory things that we had to do in order to take our formulation and submit it to the government officially. And that's always been this looming final boss, if you will. And we got to do that on Friday. And so we got to send that to the government on Friday. And so we are in a place of fingers crossed, truly, truly hoping that there is nothing but just a seal of approval on our formulation from the TTB, which is going to be that regulatory consumer facing entity that they work on. It's a little odd actually, but it is tobacco, alcohol, and firearms.
You know, I can see the connection. I can see it. I can see it. It's kind of wild that they are all together, but I get it. Because in a way, I see those as probably the highest regulated things that we have rather than medication, rather than like pharma,
Mm-hmm.
which we all know that's the FDA. So that's a completely
Mm-hmm.
different department. But yeah, when it comes to marketing and advertising where things can be, what can be sold, even in restaurants or things like that. There's different licenses, all that kind of stuff. I could see those going together. Firearms is kind of a little bit of a
Just a
wild
little
card, but
wild card in there.
glad it's
I
regulated.
agree. Yes, me too. I'm like, well, it's odd that they're all together, but at least we have that.
Right?
Yes, it's much better than the opposite. So
Yeah.
that's
And
kind
for
of where we stand.
okay. That's good to know. So exciting, exciting news for you guys. I'm glad you guys were able to get that shipped off, and everybody fingers crossed that they get that back expeditiously, because we all know that having the government in your business takes a minute. So fingers crossed. I'm excited to hear that update when it comes through. And diving in a little bit more into regulations, what are some regulations that other founders should know before starting an alcohol brand, or that you wish you knew when you started and that they can look out for?
Yeah, I think that as it pertains to alcohol specifically, the main thing for us, and I'd mentioned this a little bit earlier, but essentially the TTB is wary of the inclusion of better for you ingredients in consumables in something like alcohol, for example. It kind of gives companies, and understandably for the record, it gives companies a crutch to be disingenuous. It gives companies a crutch to kind of market in a misleading sense. We never want to position alcohol as better for you. At the end of the day, alcohol is alcohol is alcohol. All we can do is package it with ingredients that maybe make a little bit more sense and balance your buzz so that you are not quite feeling the effects as intensely. But at the end of the day, you are very much still consuming ethanol, which is that harmful product. And so I think that that is something to be aware of. I think that when you pick up a mocktail, for example, like a Gia or a Kin or Katy Perry's Desoir, they tend to have these like really interesting ingredients, like adaptogens, lion's mane. Some of them have L-theanine or
Hmm.
magnesium, and it's oh my goodness, this is so cool. And it's interesting because not only is the look, feel, and taste so similar to the canned alcohol, like the RTD space, but the pricing is even sometimes well surpasses because of these really functional ingredients and boutique look and feel of the products. And those companies are able to have these magic potions, if you will, of intentional ingredients because there is not an ounce of alcohol in it.
Mm,
Yeah, so it's something to consider. It's something, it was fleeting for us. We wanted to stick to spirits. It was
hmm.
fleeting for us, but it is interesting to kind of consider. It's something we tossed around a little bit in the beginning and wondered if it made sense for us to pivot to more of a functional seltzer with no alcohol in it. And for us, the decision ultimately came down to that market feeling too crowded,
Hmm.
and Salsi being more of a Gen Z friendly drink. I think that Gen Z is drinking a fraction of what their previous generations were drinking, and they seem to be a little more intentional about their health. And so Salsi is about sipping on something enjoyably and being a little more mindful about what you're doing, essentially. If the goal is to get really, really buzzed, it might not be the best solution.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel that. I mentioned this on another podcast that I have cut down on my drinking to, I won't even say it's insanely special occasions. It's once every blue moon. So I am a part of that Gen Z generation that's been cutting it out. So I totally feel you. And for any Gen Zers out there, I stand with you. We're all here. We're going to be drinking more intentionally with Salsi and not feeling bad afterwards, which I love. And speaking of reaching out to Gen Zers, a younger demographic, I want to dig a little bit into your packaging and your design. It is an absolutely stunning can. Is the can that's on the website like the final version?
It is very, very close. It is not final. I actually, so you're just clocking me. We just updated it. We just updated it. And so I need to go through and update those assets. But it's, I would say about 95% finalized what is on the website.
So if you guys haven't seen the can, it's a silver can and it's a slim can as well. And it has this like patchwork Latinx, Hispanic, tattoo, Miami vibe on it. It is so eye catching. And plus, it has these insanely bright colors. Where did that artwork come from?
Thank you for saying that. It started as a Pinterest board. For the record, I did not design it. I did not design it. We have this amazing, amazing designer who we met through Launch Lab, actually.
Nice.
Her name is Jane. She runs an agency called Jane's House, and she just understood the vision completely. As a creative herself, she'd spent a lot of time in Miami for Art Basel, actually, which is so
Mm.
funny. And so she it did not take a lot on my end for her to just take my vision, interpret it, and kind of add her flair to it. And we wanted something very distinct and we wanted something unlike what was on shelves currently. We needed it to scream Miami. And so I'm really glad that it does.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we wanted it to just be fun and modern. And the main thing was this just should look really different. We want it to be eye catching, if not like bordering on startling.
People will definitely say, wait, what is that?
Hopefully, hopefully.
I love that. And it's literally gorgeous packaging. So shout out to your designer. I love the patchwork too because I think I saw it from another brand, but I'm blanking on it right now. Who actually was it Chipotle? It may have been Chipotle, where if you had patchwork tattoos, that art style on
Oh
your
my God, I
body, then
saw
you
this.
could get some type of deal or something that was happening if you have patchwork tattoos and it's
Can
still
I
happening, go to
just
Chipotle. But
can
that
I
was
just
when I
tell
saw
you?
it.
Milan. Okay, so in Miami, they had this promotion. I don't know if it was nationwide, but they did it. Chipotle did this in Miami. And it was a buy one, get one, any entree from 3 to 4 p.m. if you showed off your tattoo. And Sway Lee was there.
My gosh. Hey, Sway.
And so I didn't go, but I had like really aggressive FOMO. I was
Oh
like,
my
that's going to be
gosh.
such a mess. Like, I'm just going to stay home. But it's just as if it wasn't enough, just Sway Lee.
I love that. I need to get my butt down to Miami.
It's time.
I miss it so much. It is such an incredible city. And so, at this point in the conversation, I know we probably have some crew members out there who are noodling on ideas, who are aspiring builders, and they have an idea right now, but they feel like it's too hard. So, probably like yourself, but 9 months ago. What would you say, or what would your tip be to that aspiring crew member who feels like their idea is just a little bit too hard right now?
I would suggest that you just go for it. And I understand that that sounds maybe a little oversimplified, but whatever go for it means to you, like start asking around when you have the downtime, maybe swap out 15 minutes of your nightly rot hour, to just send an email out, text a friend asking if they know someone, and just start to put feelers out. Scratch the
Mhm.
surface. My mom always says knocking on the door does not mean you're entering. It kind of translates roughly. It's a lot
Mhm.
cooler in Spanish, but essentially, like knocking on the door does not mean that you are really committing to anything. Putting yourself out there does not mean that you are in too deep and suddenly you're doing this. I would encourage anyone who's feeling like it is a little bit too hard right now to anchor themselves in the right support system, friends, family. You learn a lot about people when you start a venture like this, and to start to ask for help and make those little moves and see what shape this idea takes. And is it a not right now, or does it just totally shift into something you couldn't have even imagined by the time you make it through your network?
Yeah. I love that advice. I love that advice. And it kind of reminds me of what you said earlier about when you didn't know what to do, you just started calling breweries, which you were like, it's close. Like, I definitely know it's not right there, but it's the closest thing I can think about doing to even talk to the general managers or people who work there who know the process, maybe doing tours or whatever it is, just so you could learn from the comfort of your own home because it's just a phone call, or maybe you live close to one and you could stop by and just walk in and ask some questions. So I think that's
Hmm.
a great way to start is just start using your own network, even though you may not feel like you have one. Everyone has one. And if you don't, there's always TikTok and LinkedIn. Just cold DM
Yep.
somebody.
Yep.
That's what I did with Diana. I cold DM'd her for a completely different question. And now here we are on the podcast. And I think when I DM'd her, the podcast didn't even exist yet.
There you go.
There you go, you guys. Dreams are actually made through connections and DMs. And thinking about how you've built all of this and building your community and knowing how important that is to both yourself and your business, what role has your environment, your upbringing, and your community played in the concept of Salsi and bringing it to life the way it has?
I was talking to Jackson about this today, actually. I was talking to my husband about this today. I think that the best advice that I have received throughout my career and in my personal life is to just be nice to everyone. And I have found that fully with no ulterior motive to just come back around in so many different
Mm.
ways. Like it has been so fulfilling and rewarding to just put ourselves out there and to put what we're working on out there and to kind of see how when you do things with good intentions, when you are kind to the people around you, things kind of naturally take shape and come back around. I don't know that I am like a very spiritual person, but this has got me questioning everything that I believe because although it has been frustrating at times, and Miami is a wonderful place and it's also imperfect. And I think that that's part of accepting it and loving it and celebrating it. And just as there are really amazing, amazing people, there are some not so great people. And I think that it is like really, really important to cover and shine a light on those like really wonderful people that make up the fabric of the city. What I'm wanting to get at is that it is important to me to build a brand that allows people to see Miami in a little bit of a different light. And it's important to me that people see Miami in a different light, period.
Mhm.
And Salsi is, the vehicle for that. And I'm already envisioning the cogs where we can take a fraction of what we're making and put it back into philanthropy locally. I mean, that's the goal here. But for us to give money back, we need to make money first. So stay
Yeah.
tuned.
And outside of Salsi and your 9 to 5, you're also a huge community builder. You said that you host some free social gatherings in partnership with Third Spaces Miami for the girls, the gays, the allies to make friends, to get off their phones and connect in real life. I definitely feel my social anxiety slowly growing over time, but I am an extrovert at heart. So to be honest, as long as the sun is outside and I'm around a group of people, I will thrive. So, what has it been like facilitating this community? Being hyper local is so important to you, and it's the backbone of not only yourself, but South Sea. What has it been like to build community events that are outside of both of these things just for your pure love of the community?
Very fulfilling. Very, very fulfilling. Sometimes wonder if that's what I should be pouring my effort into over Salsi. Genuinely, it's like it's wild. What started as one of many silly TikTok posts, but there was one that gained a lot of traction hyperlocally. And it was essentially about wanting to be in more feminine, in more queer spaces, and that those were the spaces where I felt the most myself and have the most fun and feel the most comfortable and safe. It kind of just had a strange amount of traction, which is really validating. And also really intimidating when there are hundreds and hundreds of people on a post being like, same, me too, same. It's like, oh my gosh, I feel like there is some missed opportunity here. And so we started to host these socials on a monthly cadence. My friend Dani and I, she is the one who runs this Third Spaces account. They've been around for a while, and their entire thing is spotlighting events by LGBT plus groups, by marginalized groups, and then also events, specifically highlighting events that are free or accessible.
Mhm.
And so a lot of events in the art community and kind of the underground music scene, and a lot of events that don't have a budget for marketing. And so it's very, very cool. She and I are pretty like minded in that way. And it's been so, so, so rewarding. And Milan, like hearing you talk about your time, like during the pandemic, I think really strikes a chord for me because I am kind of one of those like on the cusp millennials. And so I just turned 30, which means I am not one of those kids who had a screen by the time I was like 13 or
Mhm.
14. And I know that for Gen Z, that is a little bit different. And so, especially that younger leg of Gen Z. And so, having experienced the pandemic during these highly impactful, informative years, I am seeing immense social anxiety as a trend amongst Gen Z. And I relate to it. I relate to it to an extent, but it also breaks my heart if that is something that I am not as burdened by, and I feel comfortable bringing 100 strangers into a room and making them all play and talk, then I'm going to do it. These events are usually 21 plus, but very organically, it's just kind of grown into mostly Gen Z. And you see these kids, sometimes they're 29 and I'm 30. But whatever. You see these kids and they come and they have such good intentions and they're so sweet and you can tell there is this honestly fear and that's valid.
Mhm.
And so, Miami is disjointed enough as is. We don't have transit. We don't have transit that makes sense other than like bumper to bumper traffic. There is like a way to get around. So, especially this younger generation, I think is just not as connected
Yeah.
um, to each other in person. So, it struck a chord to hear you talk about your experience in 2020. And I am finding it very, very fulfilling to be a facilitant, a spectator.
Yeah, for sure. And in hosting these events, what has been the biggest thing you've learned from getting 100 strangers together in a room?
Everyone is as uncomfortable as you are. I also find it like really disarming. And it has oddly been easier to facilitate and just like a better vibe than I could have expected. Just going to the internet and being like, hey, we're going to do this at this date, at this time. I mean, there's just any way it can shake out. And I don't have an internet presence, not until very, very, very recently. And so it's not like I have a community that I've built that would be untrue to say. This is just the people that are in Miami and receiving this hyper local content. These aren't the people that I attract. These are the people that are here and who want to spend time with each other and who want to connect off of a screen. And so I would say it is actually easier than it seems. And I kind of have this restored sense of faith in the community and in humanity to see like over and over again this different mishmash of 100 to 150 people just flow so kindly and so sincerely. It's
Mm.
weird, honestly.
I love that. And I feel that
It's a
I've seen a few no phone events, whereas in they literally take your phone at the door and will clamp it shut and you don't get it back.
oh,
I am like dying to go to one. I have probably never wanted to go to an event so bad in my life. I'm like, please, can we all lock our phones away? It would be amazing. And because I saw another TikTok that was, we'll never have another 2016 when it comes to partying or anything like that because everyone is
mhm.
so afraid of being filmed. Everyone is
Oh
so
my
afraid
God.
of there being a story time about them that they have no idea exists, but it's out there on the internet. Maybe there's clips of them, maybe there's not, but there is this huge fear of our phones having cameras and everybody having them on all the time. And you never know if you're having a good moment or a bad moment, or you're just being yourself dancing, and the anxiety that can come with getting that very organic, very genuine encounter or whatever you're doing. Maybe you're just dancing, caught on camera with zero context and then possibly being made fun of by thousands of people on the internet, which I just find so sad. I just find it so
That's
sad.
extremely sad and also super valid.
But I have a lot of hope that with founders like yourself, founders like myself, other people we've had on this podcast, that the events and the community spaces that we're going to be able to build, not only by building in public on social channels and things like that, but also by hosting events that are connected to Salsi that are hyper local for people to, because you're already having 21 over events, to engage with something that could possibly be better for them with people who care more about the community and the spaces around them. Locking up our phones because people actually want to be present gives me a lot of faith that our world won't be like this for forever. This is hopefully just a temporary phase that we are in.
Growing pains, hopefully, right?
Growing
Like
pains.
we're just a teenager.
We're just a teenager. We need to mature a little bit. Once we hit like
Exactly.
full frontal lobe development, maybe we'll get it together.
I
And
hope so.
truly, and thinking about how you're a community builder, how you're growing Salsi, I am so interested to know who would be your dream partner for Salsi. I see it being on like the sponsor of like a soccer team.
I love that. I know it'd be so fun, like to get Salsi over with like Inter Miami. and just get like
Hey, Messi,
the
how's it going?
Beckhams and some, yeah, exactly, exactly. And it's so funny. He's like, people run into him here all the time, and
Hmm.
he's like kind of a good sport about it, which I admire. I guess he's like the number, I guess, I feel embarrassed that I said, I guess. He is the best soccer player in the world currently, maybe currently
I
ever.
believe so.
And he's living here and he just like goes to the grocery store and it's Miami and there are a lot of people here from Argentina and that's where
Hmm.
he's from. And so they just absolutely go ballistic when they see him. And it's kind of cute. I'm not in his shoes, so I find it really sweet. But he is allegedly very, very
There
nice to
you
his
go.
fans, which I respect. And so I could totally see us. That would be really cool, like a little patch on their jerseys, Inter Miami X Salsi collab.
That would be perfect.
I know it'd be fun. It'd be fun.
So, as we wrap up a little bit of today, I have two more questions for you, Diana. Here is one of the favorite ones from our community. Sitting here today and looking beyond the trenches that you're in right now, what do you see for yourself and the future of Salsi?
My goodness. For the future of Salsi, I see us as kind of pioneering, hopefully, a nationwide brand. We're speaking it into existence. We are
Yeah.
pioneering a nationwide brand that understands how Gen Z wants to drink if they drink. We are hopefully one of many new. Yeah, I'd love to see that shelf crowded with more options for beverages that are low alc, for spirits with no additives in them, for spirits with no like artificial colors or flavors in them, for beverages with ingredients in them that aren't just bubbles and actually serve some kind of any purpose, some kind of purpose. I would be really interested in seeing that. I would love to see the phase that snacks are going through with protein, like in a parallel for
Yeah.
alcoholic beverages, but like not protein, please. Please, no protein.
No protein in our alcohol, please. No protein.
Yeah, that'd be weird. I feel like it'd be odd, but I'd love to see like, okay, actually, can we get one with fiber in it?
That's
Because
literally what I
alcohol
was
kind
just
of messes
thinking.
everything up. Okay, this is great minds. But truly, I feel like it's a necessity. It is a known thing that when you drink a lot, it dehydrates you, and then it also just kind of messes with your tummy and all of those happenings. And so I could see like a responsible amount of fiber being good.
Hey, okay.
And
We heard it
actually, on
here.
that note, Milan is actually there is, I don't know if this is like, I don't know if I should, I don't know if I can say this, Milan, but there is a company called Pop Sips, and I want to shout them out because I think they're so cool. And it's actually spiked prebiotic sodas. So think Poppy or Olipop with alcohol.
Okay, Pop Sips. We may have you guys on the podcast soon.
I know,
I
I'm
love
like
that.
Pop Sips X Salsi collab. Different products. They're different enough. I just like what they're doing. I'm a big fan. And I think they're kind of crushing what we just talked about as far as like tummy friendly ingredients with alcohol.
I am obsessed with how you just said tummy friendly. I want that on a shirt.
Tummy friendly. Just no other content.
Tummy friendly? TM. I'm crying. I want that on a shirt so bad. Sorry, you guys, for anybody listening. We are officially just brainstorming live now. Two creative minds who are both on TikTok way too much are
Yep.
officially brainstorming while also live on this podcast.
Someone is stealing this idea. You're welcome, I
You're
guess. Yeah.
welcome. Go join the launch lab and get it out for us and then send us some PR. Thank you.
Run us our check expeditiously.
I love it. And to literally is segue into our last question. To that person, what's something you wish that you could tell every single person listening right now?
Oh my goodness. That's a toughie. I would just say it's not as hard as you think it is. Free will goes crazy, and the amount of opportunity that reveals itself to you and just surfaces the minute that you put yourself out there. And that's subject to interpretation, whatever that means to you, putting yourself out there. Maybe it's asking for help. Maybe it's a viral TikTok. It has different meanings for everybody, but it is so rewarding to put your energy out into the world and see how everyone kind of reacts. And we're in this information age that is so cool. You have no idea where your little face and your story is going to end up, and you never know who it's going to resonate with. Do it. Put yourself out there. Share your ideas. The people that love you are going to support you. And the people that don't, you will learn very, very quickly. But put yourself out there. It is so rewarding. It's not as hard as it seems. That's what I would say.
I love that. This has been an incredible episode, Diana. Thank you so much for sharing your origin story here today with us on Trenches. I cannot wait to see what you build beyond the trenches and just to see some of these brand collaborations come out with Salsi one day. For the crew members out there, please go follow Salsi on socials, on TikTok and Instagram. Both of those are at Sip Salsi. Those links will also be in the show notes. And as we said in the middle of this episode, head to the sipsalsi.com website to sign up for the waitlist, see the packaging, give Diana any feedback you guys have. I cannot wait for Salsi to hit shelves and be shipped to our homes for helpful sipping. Okay, now we're going to go hop off on to our rapid fire questions, which I know you guys love. So check into the next episode for Diana's rapid fire. Thanks so much for joining us, you guys. Bye, crew.
Bye.
Don't forget to follow us on Apple and Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Your likes, comments, and ratings make such a big difference in improving the show for each and every crew member. Also, if you're not already, come and join us on TikTok and Instagram at Trenches the Podcast, where we don't just share clips, we're creating a network of co-builders in the comments. Each post is designed to be a truly impactful addition to your scroll that will actually help you improve your journey in many different ways. Now, since you're already a part of the crew, this is how you step inside. By allocating to the fund on Patreon, you become a stakeholder in Trenches the Podcast and officially join our cap table. With access to private content, early drops, resources, and chats reserved for people truly in the work. Here is where you get the tools and the behind the scenes of what it really takes to get beyond the trenches. Your seat gives you direct access to contribute and make long-term decisions for our crew while finding community with fellow builders. It's time to take your seat at the table. Our mission is simple: make entrepreneurship less lonely. I'll see you in the next episode.